All right, guys, so today we're going to be talking about photosynthesis and cellular respiration. You should be able to find some notes about this, so follow along, copy them down, pause the video if you need to. So photosynthesis, okay, you guys probably have heard this word before, but maybe have never thought of it this way. But photosynthesis is a process, and it's actually a chemical reaction. It's probably the most important chemical reaction on our planet. So there is an equation, like all chemical equations, there is a chemical equation to represent photosynthesis. This is the basic premise. So you take carbon dioxide, you add water and light, okay, because photosynthesis cannot happen without light, and that makes glucose and oxygen. Now, you all know that plants and trees give off oxygen, which is good for us because we need oxygen, but this glucose is actually a simple sugar, and this is where plants get their energy. So plants do not use light energy directly, they actually use the energy that they make from glucose. So photosynthesis actually makes glucose, and that's a very important idea. So if you don't remember anything else, remember that glucose is made from photosynthesis. Photosynthesis makes glucose. Here it's the exact same thing, just in a much more complicated form. I don't expect you guys to remember this, but for those of you who like this sort of thing, this is saying that 6 moles of carbon dioxide plus 6 moles of water is equal to 1 mole of glucose, which is sugar, plus 6 moles of oxygen. So here we can describe photosynthesis in words. Okay? The process of changing light energy into chemical energy, and that chemical energy is stored as sugar, as glucose. Glucose and sugar are the same thing, okay? At least for our purposes. This occurs in plants and some algae. So plants need light energy in order for this to happen. They also need carbon dioxide, and they also need oxygen or water, okay? So this takes, I don't know why that keeps popping up. I apologize for that. Okay. Okay, we get the idea. We'll just move that out of the way and see if we can continue on. This takes place in the chloroplast. You guys should know that that is only found in plants. So plants are the only organism that can create its own food, and it uses chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll acts as the like a sunlight receptor. Okay. All right, let's see what's going on here. Okay, so what happens during photosynthesis? Let's see if we can continue on with our notes here. All right, so what happens during photosynthesis? Plants capture light energy, and they use that energy to make glucose. That seems pretty simple, okay? But that's a big deal, right? The sunlight provides the energy needed by the chlorophyll to change molecules of carbon dioxide and water into glucose. So they need sunlight in order to change the makeup of carbon dioxide and water, okay? So that's what the sunlight is actually being used to do. It's being used to break these bonds to make the bonds of glucose because it requires energy in order to make glucose, okay? Carbon dioxide enters the leaf through holes, which are called the stomata, okay? Some of the sugar is used, so this is kind of one of the main points, right? So some of the sugar is used right away by the plant for energy, but some is stored as starch, okay? Starch is important. Things like potatoes have a lot of starch in them, okay? And some is built into plant tissue. So some of that sugar is made into something else, okay? Why is this important to us? We can't make our own food, okay, because we are not plants. So we must get our food from plants that make the sugar and make the starch. The other reason why this is important is because oxygen is released during photosynthesis, and we obviously need that. Okay. If you want to, you can watch that brain pop. I'm not going to right this minute. Okay. Now let's talk about the reverse of this. Okay, so if this is what happens in animal cells, and this is the release of chemical energy for use by the cells. So photosynthesis creates the sugar, okay, and then the plants can create the starch. And then cellular respiration is when that chemical energy is broken down for use by the cell. So this happens in both plants and animal cells. Okay. Once the energy that was in sunlight is changed into chemical energy by photosynthesis, an organism has to transform the chemical energy into a form that can be used by the organism. Okay, and that process is cellular respiration. Okay, so describing it, you would say that the breakdown of glucose molecules to release energy. So we're taking the simple sugar and we're breaking it down. This takes place in mitochondria, okay? This happens in all living things because remember that both plants and animals have mitochondria. So the glucose goes in plants, the glucose goes from the chloroplast and into the mitochondria, and that's how the plant can use it right away. Again, this is kind of a very tricky equation, but if you notice, it has the same players as photosynthesis does. It just kind of looks backwards. So in photosynthesis, remember the arrow is in the other direction, but now you take glucose, add oxygen, which we breathe in all the time, and that releases carbon dioxide, which we exhale, and that also releases water. And I'll let you guys figure out where our excess water goes. And let's see if we can go back here. So again, you just need to remember that we get the sugar from the plants that we eat. We breathe in oxygen, we release carbon dioxide and water. Now, the thing that you don't see here that you should probably write in, okay, is that inside here, what also gets released from this is energy that the cell can actually use. That's the whole reason why we eat food, is so that our cell can get energy. So this all takes place in the mitochondria, and the mitochondria takes the glucose and turns it into energy that the cells can use, okay? So if this is not on your paper, make sure that this ends up on your paper. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.